Across cultures, classrooms, and even medical conversations, one misunderstanding keeps appearing again and again. A simple confusion that shapes the way people talk about anatomy, health, and identity. A confusion so common that even adults use the wrong word without realizing it. The vulva and the vagina. Two different structures, two different functions, yet constantly mixed, merged, or mislabeled, as if they were the same place, the same opening, the same part of the body. But they aren't. In fact, when most people say vagina, they are actually talking about the vulva, the external anatomy visible from the outside, the area that includes the clitoris, the labia, and the opening itself. While the vagina is internal, a muscular canal hidden from view. So why do so many people confuse them? Why do movies, textbooks, and everyday conversations collapse two different structures into one word? And why does this confusion matter for health, education, and understanding of the body? Imagine calling the lips, the cheeks, and the mouth all the same thing. Imagine referring to the entire face as the throat. Imagine how that would distort communication, comfort, and awareness. The same thing happens here. To truly understand the difference, we need to look at the anatomy, the language, and the cultural history that created this mix-up. A mix-up so normalized that many people never learn the truth until adulthood. Let's go inside. To understand the confusion between vulva and vagina, we begin with the basic anatomy. The vulva is the external genital structure, the part that can be seen, touched, and observed from the outside. It includes the mons pubis, the labia majora, the labia minora, the clitoral hood, the clitoris, the urethral opening, and the vaginal opening. The vagina, however, is the internal muscular canal connecting the external opening to the cervix and uterus. It is flexible, expandable, and largely hidden from view, functioning as a pathway for menstrual blood, sexual intercourse, and childbirth. Because the vagina is internal and the vulva is external, they serve completely different purposes. Yet, in everyday language, the term vagina is often used to name the entire region. Why? The confusion has several roots, some historical, some cultural, some linguistic. Medical texts for much of history were written by men, for men, and often minimized or simplified female anatomy. External structures were grouped together. Internal structures were emphasized, and the term vagina became the default label. Culturally, discussing external anatomy was often taboo. The language around the vulva was considered improper, while vagina was accepted as clinical and polite, leading people to use one word for everything. Educational systems also contributed. Many students grow up learning reproductive biology through diagrams that focus on internal organs, skipping the vulva entirely, or reducing it to a small label, creating a generation that knows the uterus and ovaries, but not the structures they can actually see. This misunderstanding affects communication, healthcare, and even body confidence, because when people don't have accurate language, they don't have accurate understanding. But this is only the beginning. When we examine why the vulva and vagina are confused, the biology reveals a deeper story, one rooted in structure, function, and everyday experience. 1. The vulva, the external landscape. The vulva includes all external genital structures, each with a specific role. The labia protect internal tissues. The clitoral hood shields the clitoris. The clitoris itself contains thousands of nerve endings, making it central to sexual pleasure. The urethral opening allows urine to exit, and the vaginal opening leads inward. Every part is visible, accessible, and externally functional. 2. The vagina, the internal canal. The vagina is a muscular tube roughly 7 to 10 centimeters long at rest, but highly expandable. It is lined with folds called rugae, which allow stretching. It maintains a natural microbiome, balancing pH and protective bacteria, and it connects directly to the cervix. The vagina's primary roles involve reproduction and internal function, unlike the vulva, which interacts with the outside world. 3. Why confusion happens. Physically. From the outside, the internal canal is not visible, so many assume the external structures are simply the vagina, a shortcut created by limited visibility, limited language, and limited anatomical education. 4. Cultural silence around the vulva. In many societies, discussing external female anatomy was historically avoided. This silence erased the vulva from everyday vocabulary. People grew comfortable using one word, vagina, to describe both, even when incorrect. 5. Medical impact of the confusion. When someone cannot distinguish between vulva and vaginal symptoms, communication with healthcare providers becomes harder. Issues like vulva irritation, clitoral pain, or labial swelling may be mistakenly described as vaginal problems, delaying accurate diagnosis. This misunderstanding is not trivial. It affects self-understanding, relationships, and health literacy. But the most important part of this story is recognizing why naming matters. The climax of this topic is not the anatomy itself, but the moment we understand why the correct words matter, why separating vulva from vagina changes more than vocabulary. Accurate naming gives people accurate understanding of their bodies. It improves the way symptoms are described, it strengthens confidence, and it breaks down the silence that has historically kept external anatomy invisible. When people learn the word vulva, they gain the ability to describe discomfort precisely, to communicate clearly, to understand pleasure, health, hygiene, and anatomy with confidence. The vulva becomes something seen, known, acknowledged, not hidden behind the wrong word. The vagina, once separated from the external structures, becomes clearer too. Its role as an internal organ becomes distinct, its functions more understandable, its uniqueness respected instead of generalized. This clarity also empowers young people, giving them language that is accurate and respectful, rather than vague or confusing. It shifts conversations from embarrassment to education. Understanding the difference allows people to recognize that female anatomy is not a single structure, but a system with layers, functions, and complexity. Mislabeling oversimplifies, correct naming empowers. This shift from confusion to clarity is the true turning point. The confusion between vulva and vagina teaches us something deeper. It shows how language shapes understanding, how silence shapes ignorance, and how a single word can distort the picture of an entire part of the body. By reclaiming accurate words, we reclaim accurate knowledge. We make space for confident conversation, for better education, for clearer communication in healthcare, for a more complete understanding of anatomy. The vulva is not the vagina. The vagina is not the vulva. And recognizing this difference gives people a fuller map of their own bodies, a map that includes sensation, protection, physical function, emotional meaning, and personal awareness. It reminds us that bodies deserve precise language, that anatomy should not be simplified to the point of confusion, and that clarity is an act of respect. In the end, learning the correct terms is not about medical formality. It is about empowerment, understanding, and connection to one's own physical self. And perhaps the most important truth is this: when we name things correctly, we see them clearly. And when we see them clearly, we understand ourselves more deeply. A small correction, a big impact.